What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's FlexRx. This is episode 11. So we are getting it moving and super excited for this one. Topic for today, we're going to be talking about why you can't lose weight even though you're in a calorie deficit, or so you think. So this is going to be a good one. Very excited for this. Just got back from Smoky Mountains, Tennessee, Gatlinburg. We hosted a retreat for the Healthy Flex Prescription community, our advanced members in our Ingrain and Identity programs. Had an amazing time. We did some whitewater rafting. We got after it. Actually, a bear did visit our Airbnb, and I think I made eye contact with it from 15 yards away. So that was unforgettable and terrifying. But apparently black bears are kind of, domesticated, they were telling us. But it was an experience nonetheless. So let's get into today's topic. We're going to be diving in for why you can't lose weight even though you're in a calorie deficit. I got 8 reasons for you guys as to, what may be going down even though you think that you're in a calorie deficit. So the first one, number 1, and I'm starting this off with these are a lot of things that I've seen after coaching over 1,200 people in the Healthy Flex Prescription. And so these are some of the commonalities we'll see when someone's, really struggling to lose weight. Some of the most common things. So the first one is going to be you're not weighing your portions. So this would just be blanket statement. You're not weighing out your food pretty much. And so I can tell with this, and the first time that I started tracking, I got a food scale. I believe it was like some cereal, maybe it was like Fruit Loops or something. Cinnamon Toast Crunch or S'mores are probably the best cereals out there. Reese's Puffs is good. But I weighed up my just cereal for the first time, like a bowl of cereal. And I realized that I had thought, because you look at nutrition facts, you're like, 100 calories. Oh, okay, so whenever I eat this food, it's 100 calories because that's got to be what the standard portion is. And so it wasn't until I weighed out this cereal that I think at the time it was like 30 grams was a serving. I think now it's more realistic. And that's going to be like 100 calories or something. It ended up being something like 120 grams, which is 4x the calories that I had thought. And so just in general, if you're not weighing out your portions, if you think, so I see this a lot of times. Where people will commit to this newest, program or something. Also, thank you. Thanks, Greg. You don't do that, but I appreciate it. But people will commit to like a program or something. Like, I'm doing everything. I'm controlling all the controllables. I'm doing everything possible that I can to lose weight, and it's just not happening. But they're not weighing out their food. And I remember this was on the Iced Coffee Hour, a podcast that I really like. Shout out to Graham Steph. And he had Alex Ramosi on. And Graham was like, no matter what I do, I've tried it all. I just can't lose weight. And he just says, have you tracked your food? Crickets. No. And so even tracking your food, you can even be not that accurate, and you can still probably see some amazing results, get things moving in the right direction. But if you really want to cross your T's, dot your I's, and really set up yourself for success, weigh out your portions. Because the more accuracy you have when it comes to this stuff, the less variables that you're giving, the less uncertainties you're giving your progress, the factors of your progress. You want as minimal uncertainties as possible. You want to control the controllables and have data to back it. Because then when everything is just super clean data, you just turn this little knob and then boom, you're making progress. So the first one is going to be the reason you think you're in a calorie deficit and you're not losing weight is because you're not tracking, you're not weighing out your portions. You think that you are eating way less than you are. I've seen it in the opposite too, and I'll go on another tangent. One of my best friends back in high school, he was a taller guy, pretty athletic, and he was like, Kevin, no matter what I eat, I cannot gain weight. And I said, okay, that's interesting. And even back then, I wasn't perfect, but I had, some nutrition knowledge. I think calorie surplus makes you gain weight. And it's like, dude, I eat tasty cakes, I eat Pop-Tarts, I eat all this stuff, pasta all the time, and I just can't gain weight. I was like, how many calories do you think you're eating? It's like 3,000 at minimum. And then I think he tracked it, or we actually got to talking about okay, what'd you eat yesterday? And it was like, oh, I forgot to eat breakfast. I had 2 Pop-Tarts for 2 bags. 2 sets of Pop-Tarts, so 800 calories for lunch. And then I got home, I had a tasty cake, so another like 200 calories or 300 calories. So like we're at 1100. And then I had pasta with my mom. I'm like, okay, for like a 6 foot tall active guy, maybe I had 2000 calories. It's not important to me to think that you're not gaining weight at that point. So just tracking, even if it isn't perfect, that is a great step in the right direction. But if you really want to make things, make it as sure as you can for progress, weigh out your portions and be as accurate as you can with your tracking. Number 2, the reason that you can't lose weight, even though you're in a calorie deficit, or so you think, is you only track 5 days a week. You're only tracking 5 days a week. And I've seen this a lot. Maybe it's not even the tracking piece, but I've seen this countless times. Kevin, I eat so healthy, and I just don't know why I can't lose weight. And I'm like, okay, cool. She's like, yeah, I have the meal prep. My breakfast is the same every morning. I go into work, I eat the same thing, and then I come back and I eat a pretty clean dinner because it's like 5 p.m. or so, and I don't have much time and maybe a little snack. I'm like, okay, cool. What'd you have on Saturday? And then just, me and my friends, we got together and there was a party. It was actually a birthday party. And then we had to have some birthday cake with the kids. And then also went out for drinks. Or, Friday we had happy hour and I had all you can eat mozzarella sticks and I had like 3 drinks, all them Long Island iced teas. So that's 1,000 calories of drinks. So a lot of times, Monday through Friday, sometimes is the story we tell. Saturday and Sunday is the kind of story we don't tell, which is what, 30-something% of our week, or was it 27%? I don't know. But those 2 days can be very impactful. If you are eating, let's say 1,500 calories a day, Monday through Friday, let's say you don't go to happy hour on Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, you're having, let's say, make this math easy. No, it's not going to be easy. 3,000 calories on both those 2 additional days. Then your weekly average is going to be something much higher than what you actually think that's going down. So in this case as well, you may be great Monday through Friday, but it takes a 7-day calorie deficit to actually see progress week over week. And I've seen this. Hey, I'm 200 pounds on Monday, and then I get down to 196 on Friday, and then I just keep gaining that weight back, and I'm 200 again on Monday. And you just keep doing the same kind of system, same situation. And that's because the volume of food, the weight of food in your GI is not 4 pounds of body fat we're playing with. It's the extra additional weight of food that then passes and all those things, but then you're also calorie deficiting off the fat. It's not four pounds of fat we're playing with. So with that being said, you're only tracking 5 days a week. So if you're only looking at the 5 days a week and you're ignoring those 2 days and saying, I did so good Monday through Friday that it doesn't matter, that's why you're not losing weight on a consistent basis. You're not losing fat. Could be one of the reasons. Number 3, you're tracking. So you're doing a good job, but you're tracking your cooked meats or your cooked foods as raw. So it's just like if you're tracking on MyFitnessPal or something, they usually have raw weights and cooked weights. So an example here is 4 ounces of raw chicken is something like, I think it's usually like 120 calories. So let's say that you have, and this is a low amount of calories for like a meat. So chicken breast is very low in calories. So I think 4 ounces, 120 calories. Let's play something that's more calorie dense. We're gonna do ground beef. Let's say it's 200 calories of ground beef. So if you do raw ground beef, so 4 ounces of raw cooks down to 3 ounces cooked. And it's going to be the same calories. So 200 calories for 4 ounces. It's going to be 200 calories when it's 3 ounces after it's cooked. It loses water weight typically. Now, let's say that, 12 ounces of ground beef, it's a pretty good amount. That's 600 calories. Now, if you track this incorrectly and you tracked the 12 ounces of cooked, so you have 12 ounces of cooked, but you forget the proportion, then that's going to be 800 calories of food that you're tracking 600. So you're pretty much under tracking by 200 calories. So it's important to just know that your cooked meats and your raw meats, it's different. And just like kind of knowing what you are weighing out. Typically, if it's unsaid, it's going to be raw. The USDA database, those things, it tends to be raw if it's unsaid. So you just want to know that 4OZ raw equals 3OZ cooked. So remember that, and that can be helpful because that right there is an increase of 33%. I mean, but it also depends, how much you eat. But no, it's actually always 33%. That's how math works. So make sure that you're again, it comes down to the accuracy piece, just like number one, be accurate, but like that's one of those kind of unsaid things that just people aren't always privy to. Number 4, this is a big one. This is a huge one. Not tracking cooking oils. So growing up for me, I come from my family heavily identifies with our Italian side. So my mom, grandma, Mauricio, Yolanda, Angela DeVito. My mom more so is, kind of comes from that more Italian upbringing. So she was big on, the Italian. She was more on like the olive oil on everything. And so she would, you got to lubricate the pan, and we're not counting how much olive oil this is going to be. And we just forget that that's a source of calories. A lubricated pan is a good thing. And so, just throw it on there and it's not a big deal. But a lot of times if that food picks up that oil, like, what is it? 14 grams. Man, I am not mathing very, very good today. But like a tablespoon of olive oil is like 100 calories or so. It's the most dense amount of calories you can get is going to be an oil, which is typically customarily oils, butters we use to lubricate pans. If your food soaks that up, that's going to be untracked, unaccounted for calories in a very dense way. And that can really add and stack up unaccounted for calories. And this is why I think there's been research done, and people tend to underestimate their calorie consumption by 40%. 40%, typically because of not weighing out portions, the sauces, the condiments, the oils, butters aren't tracked. And so I'm just trying to like keep it real here. I would rather someone control the controllables and just know I'm eating too many calories. And that's why I'm not losing weight. And at least, knowledge is power. Know what I'm saying? But on the flip side, it's kind of like I am doing everything possible. I'm trying so hard and I just can't make it happen. That is what is way more frustrating a situation for someone to be in. That's why I'm trying to help you control the controllables and not be in a place of I don't know what I'm doing wrong. That sucks. So make sure in this case, what we said, number 4 is track your cooking oils. Honestly, switch the PAM spray, but also don't hold the spray down. That's still oil. It's just spread out better. So give it a couple spurts or use, I can't believe it's not butter. If 12 sprays is 1 gram of fat, and then you can be super mega accurate. You can be as accurate as you want to be. I'm always in the Kevin, do you have to be super accurate? Do you have to be super accurate with your tracking to lose weight? You don't necessarily quote unquote have to, but if you get to the position where like you are tracking, let's say buttedly, and you're not seeing results, like let's track more accurately, and at least we're going to see what's truly going on. And I'd rather, again, knowledge is power. Being aware of your habits is power. But kind of like just living in a facade where like, I just don't know what's happening. I guess there's thermodynamics or my genetics aren't playing in my favor. Like, no, let's put a full butt effort, and really cross our T's, dot our I's. Number 5. Number 5 is not tracking condiments. So not tracking condiments. So that can be like, it's only 20 calories of ketchup. And let's be real here. Have you ever weighed out a serving of ketchup? Probably not. When you put it on your hot dog, you're probably having 2 or 3 servings. You have 2 hot dogs, that's probably going to be, 6 servings total. It's 120 calories. And then you're just like, it's a condiment. It's not a big deal. Like I probably didn't even have 1 serving. And that's 100 calories that you just didn't look at. And now we can get to more calorie-dense forms of condiments. Honey mustard, mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is crazy. If you get oil and vinegar on your sandwiches, again, oil just straight to the bread, soaks it up. Again, a tablespoon's like 100 calories or so. Bam. Mio knows what's up. Mio knows what's up. Welcome to the show. Oh, God, condiments, the sneaky stuffs. Yeah, it adds up for sure. Oh, man, and if you're a ranch fan, I'm big. I really like on YouTube. I watch a lot of the food reviewers. My favorite one's Mr. Chime Time. But I watch the food reviewers and like people go crazy for ranch. And ranch is super calorie dense. So if you're just like not even weighing out those portions, I only had one serving probably. Now, if you weigh that out, then you're gonna see some stuff that you wish you didn't see. So track your condiments. And then again, knowledge is power on that. And on that same one, like whipped cream. I think whipped cream is probably one of the best examples. It's so deceiving because whipped cream, you look at it, it's not too bad, 15 calories. Like, I didn't know whipped cream was so low in calories. This is practically healthy. But then, you take it to the dome and then try this. Because one thing of whipped cream is like, I think it's 80 servings or something. If you put that down on a food scale and then take it to the dome, I hope I'm not alone on that. Does anyone else just sometimes if you got whipped cream, just do a spurt? I used to do that all the time. It's delicious. But if you weigh it out and then you get the negative, you'll realize that those little spurts wasn't just 15 calories or like a half serving. Each one is like 3 servings. And it's typically the stuff where you just go to the fridge and you just do it kind of nonchalantly. And you're like, wait, if I did that 4 times today, that's 180 calories that I just didn't track because I thought it was so little and didn't matter. These little things add up. So when tracking condiments, it's the whipped cream effect. Because, it's 15 calories. It's not too much. It doesn't really matter. That's what happens with condiments when they stack up, especially when you get into the more calorie-dense ones. Just because it's a 20-calorie serving doesn't mean that's how much you're using. Like if it's a 5-gram serving, you use 40 grams of it, that's 8 servings, like 160 calories from 20 calories. It's a big, big difference. Just keep it real. So number 6 is estimating sandwiches. So estimating your sandwiches. So like on MyFitnessPal, you can input like turkey sandwich. But is every turkey sandwich created equal? Absolutely not. They are different. Because also you can even slather up your own turkey sandwich. You get the bread and all right, we're going to go with this hearty grain. It's healthy because it's whole grains, but it's a hearty loaf. And just feel the weight of a piece of bread. And remember, macronutrients are by grams. It's a weight thing. So if you have a heavy brownie or a heavy piece of food, by grams, it's probably going to have more calories than the thing that is light in terms of weight. Again, grams of carbs, grams of fat, grams of protein. So that being said, if you have this, this hearty grain bread, it's got this heavy bread, and you're like, all right, we'll just put that in there. And then you just take, a couple spoonfuls of mayonnaise, you throw it all in there. You got, you throw on your turkey, just 2 little pieces because you don't know how much you actually need to hit your protein. A couple pieces of cheese, something else. You also are going to mayonnaise up the other side of the bread, and then you're going to throw it together and just type in turkey sandwich. And the turkey sandwich you see on MyFitnessPal, it's 300 calories. So the sandwich I made is super healthy. It's like only 300 calories. No. You made a different turkey sandwich. It's like saying that bagel bites and Pizza Hut pizza are the same thing. Like, no, they're very different. The sizes are very different. The proportions, very different. So like on the same piece with the turkey sandwich, like you have 4 times the mayonnaise. You got yourself 1,000 cal sandwich versus that generic, just 2 slices of turkey. There's no mayonnaise on it. That white bread that's super light. It's not hearty or anything. Can't even hold up 3 pieces of turkey. You're playing a different turkey sandwich game. So when you're estimating things like sandwiches, or you estimate a cheeseburger when you're out at a restaurant and you go and you say, wow, this is a hefty giant burger. Let me put it in MyFitnessPal because it's not in there. I'm at this hole in the wall place. I'm going to estimate this as a junior bacon cheeseburger from McDonald's, which is 400 calories. When in your heart of hearts, that thing That burger was like a Chili's double cheeseburger, and those things are like 1,200 calories. So just because the thing is the same thing doesn't mean that the proportions and everything are the same. Kind of all of these at the end of the day are like, I think we're at 5 out of 6 of these are actually pretty much just like portion sizes. Let's just be aware of portions. Let's go to number 7. Number 7, we're going to go, you're eating out. Yeah. Eating out all the time and picking the lowest estimation. So this one just means like if you're going to like a hole in the wall place that doesn't have nutrition facts or anything, and then you order the chicken Alfredo and you're like, I don't know how many calories this is. I'm just going to estimate it with like an input on MyFitnessPal. So I've been chicken Alfredo and you see 10 of them. And here's what I recommend, or here's what not to do, and here's what I recommend. So you type in chicken Alfredo, and then you have selections ranging from 300. You got like some, TV dinner chicken Alfredo. And then on the top end, you have like what? Cheesecake Factory's chicken Alfredo, which is like 1,500 calories probably, or 1,400. And so you're like, okay, I'm at this restaurant, chicken Alfredo. Let me just take like, the second lowest or the lowest calorie option because it's all chicken Alfredo. So like, yeah, this giant plate of pasta, let's go with the 300 calorie option. So that's what I wouldn't recommend to do because you probably just underestimated by like at least 500 calories. What I would recommend to do if you have 10 options, go with the 70th percentile. And typically, probably on average over the long term, you're probably going to be in a position where you're overestimating rather than underestimating, which just means you're going to lose fat a little bit faster. Darn it. But that's what happens when, sometimes just be realistic with those estimations that you use. Next up, we're rolling. We got number 8, the last one. I think I wanted to end on a good one. So, yeah, the snacking isn't tracking. So, this is the snacking isn't tracking is kind of like me in the whipped cream scenario where I just go over to the, I'm just like grazing. I'm bored today. I go over to the fridge and then I just like I take the whipped cream and I just like, I get a little whipped cream. Or like I go in and I grab into the pantry and I grab like a little handful of cereal. It's not so much cereal that I need to track it. It's probably less than a serving. Or you go grab a handful of nuts. So you just grab some peanuts out of the pantry. And it was just like, a little bit. It can't be much. But you do this 4 times in a day. Say the cereal, a half handful is 50 calories. The half handful of nuts is going to be probably 100 calories. Nuts are very dense in calories. Or, the whipped cream stuff we talked about is probably 30 to 45 calories every time you do it. So that all adds up. But when we have these snackings, or let's say too, someone you're watching TV with and they're snacking on something and you then take a couple pieces and you're like, it wasn't really that much. It adds up over time. That's kind of like the tracking the snacks. So if you're not tracking the snacking, then you're in a position where you're definitely going to be underreporting. I actually got a bonus. This comes from like kind of an experience that I've had in the past. Like you're not tracking your alcohol consumption. Oh, this was actually supposed to be one. Or just drinks. Just drinks. Like, apple juice, it's healthy because it's fruit. But no, it's just as calorie dense as soda, non-diet soda. Or like we've had a situation where we've worked with somebody and at the end of the program, they didn't lose too much weight. And we were like, man, that was interesting. Like, is there anything else that you've been consuming or like anything? And I was frustrated. It didn't come out until like towards the end of the program. Oh yeah, I have like an IPA every day. You're like, wait, what? And you didn't track that ever? Oh yeah, because it's not like that big of one. And then we Googled what it was. It was like 250 calories every day. And we're like, well, that can wipe your deficit out a little bit. Some days you have 2 or something. So alcohol calories add up tremendously fast, especially with mixed drinks. If you have a soda or 2 at dinner, that's 240 calories if you have 2 sodas. So in this case, solution-wise, I got no problem. Personally, I got no problem with some diet beverages. I got no problem. Make your own choice. I got no problem. 0 calories, 0 calories, 0 problems. There you go. But that's going to be actually 9 reasons why you can't lose weight even though you're in a calorie deficit, or so you think. So pretty much this is all coming down to you want to track more accurately and make sure that you are not leaving any variables out of your control. Better data is going to lead to better results. That's what we say in HFP. So now we're going to get into some Q&A. What's up, everybody? All right, we're going to go from the top. Again, thank you, Greg. So Greg says, when weighing out food, does it matter if it's before or after cooking on any food? It doesn't. The big things here, the big things when it comes out to like tracking your food is just make sure the input matches what you're doing. So if you're weighing raw chicken, put it in as raw chicken. Use the input for it. If you're weighing cooked steak, probably use the cooked steak input or do the math. So let's, what I usually will do is if I am like eating something, share screen. So this is what I'll usually do. So let's say the meat, yeah, the meat equals per 4 ounces raw is, let's say 150 calories. I cook it. Then I just remember 3 ounces is going to be 150 calories. So just keep that in mind. And then what I'll just do, like as I eat, as I'm thinking of, let's say I eat 9 ounces of it. So I'm like, okay, so that's going to be 450 calories. When I track it, I'll just do I'll just put it as 3 servings of the 4 ounce raw input. So that means that it's still going to be 450 calories. So that's kind of how I'll do it. You could, if you really want to, you do one of those old proportions. So you're like 3 ounces cooked equals 4 ounces raw equals, and then you just have the cooked weight, which is going to be, let's say, like 7 ounces. And then you solve for X, which is like cross multiplying and stuff. I don't have a calculator. My TI-89 is out of batteries actually right now. But that's kind of the ways that I would do it. Typically, the way that I do it is going to be, I know what 4 ounces cooked is in calories or the macros, and then I'm just going to like kind of like keep a tally of how many divisibles by 3. So if I have 12 ounces of that meat, I know that I'm having, when it's cooked, that's going to be 4 servings, and then I'll just put that in as that 4 servings. So hopefully that is helpful, but you just really want to make them match. If we want to go into the deep end, you really could, where if you get like not lower grade beef, but less lean beef, the fat will cook out. The fat will melt at a certain point, and you can cook that out. You can strain it, and then it's just kind of like a little bit less uncertain what those calories are necessarily. But that is probably a variable that exists and not one that's super objective in terms of correcting for. So just another piece of the uncertainty puzzle. So control the controllables, because there are always going to be some uncontrollables at play. I notice when I cut the sugar, I will start dropping weight. Yep, because sugar has calories and it's not very satiating. So typically when people eat less total sugar, less candy, less apple juice, less soda, we tend to remove some of the low satiety, higher calorie options, and we tend to get to a calorie deficit. It's not that sugar is bad or special. It's just it typically isn't too satiating per calorie unless like it's coming from fruit, which has like a lot of water content and chewiness. Yeah, typically you'll reach that calorie deficit. Already answered. No problem, Greg. All right, what's going on? Do you overestimate or underestimate macros when eating out at a restaurant? I typically try to overestimate. Yeah, so like again, if I'm like estimating at a restaurant, I eat like why did this come up? Stroganoff. So I'm having beef stroganoff, and then I type into MyFitnessPal, you get 10 selections. I'm going the 70th percentile usually, 70 or 80th percentile. So like the third from the top end of calories. That's definitely what I'll do if I'm in a cutting phase, because I'd rather overestimate, because then I'll probably be in more of a deficit. If I'm in a mass gaining phase, I still play this game, but then you can make the argument that not the best at gaining weight at a certain point. So that's definitely a piece, but I typically will overestimate. I'll aim to overestimate if I'm going to. Hello, LinkedIn user. I can't see who's like on here from LinkedIn, but what's going on? If you guys didn't know, I technically am a doctor. Oh God. Condiments, sneaky. Yes, absolutely. Especially like mayonnaise. Even soupy or creamy stuff too. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's kind of like that's one of the things too when you're looking at soups. If it's like a creamy this or that, that's probably gonna have a lot more calories than like the vinaigrette or the soup that's like more watery. That's just kind of how it is. Like if me and Nicole go for ramen or pho, yeah, that's a creamier, thicker broth. And like, okay, that's a soupier broth. You can kind of see those things. And so it's kind of all a piece of the game. Would you can't hear anything on your cell phone? I think most people are hearing stuff, but I don't know. Hopefully you're hearing stuff. I do have a mic. All right. Kids snacks can too. Kids snacks can too. You think you're just eating one or two of your, yep. And then see the calories are higher than the dual snacks. It's crazy. Yeah. Like we just got, Nicole just got a bunch of gushers and there's just these little things. And you can put down 3 easily, but I think they're like 80 calories or something. But you just like graze a little bit and like all of a sudden you graze throughout the day. And that was an extra 300, 400 calories. If you're going to go into a muscle building phase, what's the absolute minimum amount of time you should commit to this? The fun thing is there are no rules. It is what is as feasible for you. And this is kind of the things that I would be thinking through in this case. So there's no rules. Like you could bulk for like 12 weeks. You could do a mini bulk for like 8 weeks. We even do this in HFP with our clients that have been like in a fat loss phase for let's say like 40 weeks. And we're like, we just want to give you something to refresh you psychologically and like give you some more food. Let's focus on hitting PRs in the gym. And the fat loss phase is always there when we come back. So you could do like I'm not coining this, but you could do like a mini bulk, which would be like maybe 8 to 12 weeks. I would say for a mass gaining phase and like a true like lean bulk, I would try to stretch out as long as I can into like a 4 to 10 month, surplus phase. That's what I would recommend. Maybe a mini cut somewhere along the way. So that's like a 4-week aggressive cleanup where you just like, try to lose in 4 weeks, like 5 to 10 pounds. It's kind of like what I'm doing right now, aside from the retreat we just got back from. And so the reason you can do this when you do a lean bulk is because you aim to gain about, let's say, around 1% body weight per month. So let's take me, for instance, I'm like, 220 pounds right now. So that would be like, 2 pounds per month. And so if I did like, let's say 5 to 10 months, that's just like 10 to 20 pounds. That's reasonable to stretch out over a long period of time. You do a 4-week mini cut, and I could probably lose about 10 pounds. And then I'm right back, in striking range. Or I want to do like my summer cut, which may be, more 4 to 12 weeks. So I'll run you through what my annual plan is when I am not competing in bodybuilding, or if I were not doing a marathon this year. This is how I would like to plan my years. I'll bulk for about 10 months. 8 to 10 months bulking, and I do like 2 to 3 months cutting into the summer. And then I'm like done. So that's usually just like April. It's like April through like April, May, June, if that. And then I'm done my cut and then I'm right back into a surplus. So this is where I'll lose like something like 20 pounds. And this is where like I'll gain like 20 pounds. And so I oscillate. Ooh, I hit something. Nope. All right, I hit a button that I probably wasn't supposed to hit. But I will go up to around 230 or 235, and then I diet down to around usually 210, 215. For me, if I'm going to be doing a marathon in a couple months, I'm probably going to just get to my streamlined 210 pounds, and then that's kind of like making my body what's going to best suit the task. But I want to make sure I have really big arms if I'm doing a marathon. The amount of calorie deficits differs for people with different weight, right? And how do we know these amounts? So the amount of calorie deficit differs for people. Technically. So like our bodies all burn a different amount of calories and we all consume a different amount of calories. These are the two levers we're playing. So like, yes, if you are smaller, you burn less calories. If you're smaller, you burn less calories, but also your appetite is going to be more receptive to satiety. Like if your body runs on 1,000 calories, you're typically not going to have an appetite that is like not satisfied until 3,000 calories. Our appetites, if we're eating relatively normal calorie dense foods, they're pretty receptive to keep us around a homeostasis or a stay still kind of point. But yes, of different weight, I've seen a higher correlation in terms of calories burned per day from height rather than just strictly weight. Very interesting, but that's kind of the data that I've gotten over like 1,200, working with 1,200 people. We see typically if like someone's like 6 foot, we're like, all right, we'll probably be able to get away on like dieting 1,600 to 1,800 calories for males. Someone's like 5'5", it's like, all right, we're probably going to be dipping down to like 1,300 to 1,500 sooner than later. But yes, so how would we know these amount? And if I didn't just get like flagged from using Jamboard, I don't know what I did. Come on. All right, here we go. So here is the surefire way to know how many calories. Well, you're not going to know how many calories you burn, but you're going to know what you actually want to know. So weigh in daily, track your food daily, see the trend of your weight, because if we want to lose body fat or if we want to gain weight, you're going to see a trend in relation to your average daily calorie intake. Change the trend by adjusting calorie average. So if you're maintaining weight, drop like 200 calories per day and then see what happens as your weeks kind of move. And so like, I don't care if like, do you burn 1,730 calories or do you burn 1,847 calories per day? I don't give a crap. I mean, I can probably, say the bad words. It is my YouTube channel, but like, I really do not care if it's 1,730 or 1,847. I care about the result. I care about the results. So why do we care about the exact number? The only reason we care is because we want the result. We want the result. So if we just focus on the result and adjusting these two variables, it doesn't matter, be it you burn 1,730 calories or 1,847. We don't need to know it perfectly. We need to get in that range of rate of loss to see, again, the result. So that's why I lead with the result in mind. You can go do some, and I've done this. I've been in a case study. I was the case study participant for my 2019 contest prep, and we would do every month like an oxygen mask thing. Like you put the thing on, you breathe into it for X amount of time, and it gives you your basal metabolic rate. That's cool, but also we walk around a certain amount throughout the day. We have a certain amount of activity level throughout the day. So also like it's a moving target anyway. So it doesn't, I personally don't care. I like, the big pieces I would add to this is like step count. Because this is a good, I think the word is barometer of like your activity level. This is your consumption, and this is the result. And so when you're looking at kind of like these three things, you get a really good idea of the main factors to be controlled to get you moving where you want to go. I hope that's helpful. What do you recommend about training during depletion and during peak week? Give an example split. I don't know what you mean by peak week. Is this for a marathon? Is this for a bodybuilding show? And then also in a bodybuilding show, are we actually lean enough? Are we actually like emaciated and got the glute striations, or like, we kind of there. But if we're talking about depletion going into a show, which I would probably assume that's what you're talking about, you keep it light. Peak week is not where the muscle's built. You kind of get a pump. You kind of try to retain the muscle. Give an example, split. I don't coach people for competitions in terms of bodybuilding. There's a lot of people that specialize in that, but typically the way that I've done mine with the coaches I've worked with, Cliff Wilson, Jared Feather, that last week during depletion and peak week is, hey, get in there. Here's 10 exercises. Take them to like RIR, like 5 reps in reserve. So pretty easy training. Get a quick pump, if that, and keep it pretty light. And don't hurt yourself, because if you're sufficiently lean for a bodybuilding show, you're like, at that point, the work's pretty much done. And so you're not well suited to have your most intense and best training sessions. And like, no one wants to get hurt on that last week. What do you gain from gaining and losing? Do you see muscle gains over time by doing bulks and cuts, or do you do it for fun? You get better returns on being in a little bit of a surplus of nutrients in terms of gaining muscle. So by being in a surplus, you're gonna gain more muscle over that time. A good question is like, at what point does that stop? Because some people just feel more athletic and perform better. Like, let's say for me at 220, and maybe me being at 235, I'm like, quote unquote, less healthy, not able to move as well as I like. Is that going to be, a difference? But as far as research is concerned, apparently, and this has been, solidified by like Mike Israetel, Menno Henselmans, Lane Norton. If you're in a surplus of nutrients, you will gain more muscle, you recover better. And so by having a longer time frame when you're in a situation like that, then that could be conducive to building more muscle over the long term. Weigh in daily and track. Got it. Thanks, man. Much love for your advice. I love when somebody just like, listens, sees it, and does it. And that's what I respect. I had a friend back at Rutgers. Shout out to Mark. We talked in the gym one day, and he was like, oh, how do I lose weight? I was like, what I would do is just start logging your weigh-ins every day, log your food, see how your weight's moving, and then adjust it from there. So I'm a year later, he lost 50 pounds. I'm like, what happened? He was like, remember we talked, like last year at some point, and you told me to do that thing? I was like, I think so. It's usually what I say a lot. And then he's like, yeah, I did it. And actually, it worked. And every time I stopped losing weight, I just adjusted my calories a little bit. And he's like, and now I'm here. I'm like, well, you look awesome. And I'm going to take all the credit for it. And so that was for a bodybuilding show. So yeah, it's pretty much like pump and fluff. It's pretty easy training. The bodybuilders worth their marbles. I mean, look at Renaissance periodization. Again, Cliff Wilson, Jared Feather. They'll say you're just kind of, it's just like easy pump stuff at the end. Don't get hurt. Is it true that doing much cardio would cut your muscle mass? This is an interesting one because I'm kind of doing that hybrid training a little bit right now. And it's like really cliche because like everyone's kind of hopping on the run train. And it depends. It's going to be dose dependent. So let's say that you're training 4 times a week, trying to get super jacked, but you're running like 50 miles a week. It's probably going to be a little bit tougher because I think long distance endurance training is going to have a demand on recovery, and it's not too advantageous to carry a lot of muscle through that. So you may be stimulating certain adaptations. But I think that there's a way to do it properly, and it also depends what level you are. So for me, being 15 years into strength training, for me to gain muscle from here, it's going to be pretty darn difficult. How much muscle can I gain going into, let's say, a marathon prep? It's going to be tough. It's probably going to be a battle to retain muscle, or just accepting towards the end of the marathon a little bit of muscle loss, but muscle comes back pretty quickly. So it's going to be an interesting journey. But I would say within the confines of a normal cardio amount, let's say 5 to 20 miles per week. I don't think if you're not even doing it too intensely, I think you're going to be fine. And I just think of running right now as just expedited steps. If it's not super high intensity and it's just expedited steps with good shoes that have good cushioning, I think you're going to be fine, ultimately. But if you're doing a marathon prep or running 50 miles a week, then maybe there could be something. Jack, I covered this. There isn't really a minimum amount of time. It's just time in a surplus is going to be better than time not in a surplus in terms of recovery. So as much time as you can commit, but typically when you go with a lean bulk, you want to extend that time frame from 5 to 10 months or so. All right, we're about at time. I'll hit this one quick. Clubber size with David. How do you define and achieve a pump, and how essential is it for hypertrophy? So a pump isn't necessarily super mandatory for hypertrophy, for growing. A pump is where you have a swell of, you'll feel it in the gym. You got more veins and stuff popping out of the muscle you're working. You feel kind of a tightness with the muscle pressing against the skin. That's just because you have a lot of blood flow that's come to that muscle, and it's expanded at that time. It's not mandatory to grow, but it's a good indicator that you're getting good stimulus during your training session. If you're getting 0 pumps while you're in the gym, maybe you're not getting the best training that you could get in terms of hypertrophy, but it's not an end-all be-all. If you add 100 pounds to your squats and you don't necessarily get a mega quad pump every time, then you're probably still going to gain muscle, like if you get that much stronger. But it's all a piece of the puzzle. And exercise selection, I think that it's a useful kind of thing to be aware of. Like, okay, this exercise, I get a really full range of motion. I'm able to get stronger at it. I get great pumps from it. I get minimal joint or ligament fatigue. That's A1 for you. And I would stick with that kind of exercise. Cool. So we have a lot of great questions. Want to appreciate like all of you guys. These shows are more fun when you bring some great questions to the table. So this was fun. With Instagram, hop on YouTube for next time so I can get into your questions. It's just like the StreamYard that I use. It's really user-friendly for me to just see them and put them on here. And so I will see you guys this upcoming week, this upcoming Tuesday. Again, rock on. And then I will see you guys next week. Have a great week. Bye.